Oh, it's hot.
Oh, it's a bit hot today, isn't it?
And it's about to get hotter.
Why is that then?
Because we're in the middle of a heat wave.
I think, isn't it? Well, we're recording this on Monday the 12th.
It is meant to get cooler by the time this comes out.
By the time this comes out, our listeners will be lovely and breezy and chilly and fresh, and they'll be feeling nice.
We unfortunately cannot say that we're sharing that at the moment. We're recording this on Monday night. It's about 9:30. It's as hot as Barbados. Well, neither of us can have a fan on because we're recording a podcast.
No, we must invest in air conditioning.
How are you, my darling?
I'm great. I'm trying to think, can I think of a single feeling, emotional memory beyond warm? I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. I think I'm pretty well. I think what's happened to me this week? Anything interesting? I think I had quite a quiet weekend, really. So it's been
nice.
It's been kind of fine. How's yours been?
I came into work today and someone immediately, just like off the bat, came up to me and they were like, "Oh, you look tired." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And they were like, oh, no, I don't mean that. Like, I just mean like, you look like you had a fun weekend. And I was like, I didn't do anything this weekend.
I didn't, Queen. I didn't.
Yeah, literally.
I'm actually just this exhausted by this job. Thank you.
No, I'm fine. Other than that, just melting in my room recording a podcast.
Just melting. Well, it's a wonderful day to go back to a sunny day in 1950. What year are we going back to?
1951. August 1951.
August 1951. A sunny, it's a lovely day for a village fair, isn't it?
I know. Oh, do you know what? I love this episode we're talking about. So for anyone who hasn't cottoned on, we're going to be talking about The Temptation of Sarah Jane Smith from Series 2 of the Sarah Jane Adventures. And I grew up in such a little country bumpkin village, and we would have the village fair every year, and we would have like hat competitions, and there'd be a tent that was like, there were different categories, and it was like who has the biggest onions that they've grown, who has the biggest potatoes, a cake decorating contest, sewing contest.
I thought you said like bunions.
That would be a different competition entirely. But no, it gave me all the feels. I really like this episode. It's very nostalgic in that sense.
Yeah, that's very sweet. Tell me more about the hat competition and how you would participate in that. I
participated on one year with my brother. My brother made an Easter hat, despite the fact it was summer, and it was all about little Easter eggs and chicks. I, of course, made a Doctor Who themed hat. Not kidding.
Oh.
And it was paper, and it was green, and it had loads of stickers from the Doctor Who Adventures magazine on it. And I just remember a really big sticker of the Absorbaloff in the middle.
Oh.
And that was my contribution to the village fair hat contest that year.
Just giving them a little bit of culture.
Exactly. I've got to bring it to the streets. But yeah, no village hat competitions where you're from?
No, there was a Billingshurst village fair of some kind. I won a competition once in a village fair. I think it was a colouring competition. We had to colour in Maisie Mouse, and I don't remember what I won. But I know I did that well. Yeah.
Forgot about that, Kel. Yeah, well, I used to do makeup. I used to do maypole dancing for my village
fair. You're doing makeup. I'm just imagining doing like really nice, what do I mean? Really nice.
Winged liner and stuff.
Winged liner and creases, yeah.
Yeah, no,
I wasn't doing that.
I was doing something much more serious. I was dancing on a maypole, so that's what I was doing in my village fair.
That is the definition of camp, isn't it? A maypole.
I'm surprised there wasn't a maypole in this one.
Yeah.
For anyone who's listening internationally, how many people right now just Googled what is a maypole?
What is a maypole? Is there not a maypole in this? Now, I'm having a moment of thinking, was there a maypole?
I don't.
Maybe
I don't
budget
think
didn't allow
there was
for
a maypole. I don't know.
No,
maybe
I'm scanning through now the thumbnails that there is no maypole in this episode.
There's no maypole.
Sad to confirm.
Well, look, before we dive into our thoughts on The Temptation of Sarah Jane, I thought it'd be time for a little listener story.
Yay! I'm getting really excited for these now, week by week.
I know. Well, we've been saying, so ever since we've been doing this new season of Wholala, we've been asking for your stories across the Whoniverse of funny tales, silly secrets, first time you've met someone, seeing people on the show, and your stories can be anonymous or not. And we've also been asking for your help with what we should call this section. We kept teasing that it was like, oh, it's Tales of the TARDIS, but we don't want to get, infringing on copyright. We actually had a really good suggestion in from someone on our X account.
Oh.
We did. At Phobanan said that we should call it Doctor Who Fanecdotes. What do you think about that, Alasdair?
Fanecdotes is good. I like a fanecdote.
I like fanecdotes too. So here is a brand new fanecdote from one of our listeners in America.
Okay, yes. Let's go over to the US. Let's see what our correspondent has to say.
So this is off the back of last week's episode where, in case you missed that one, we recapped Billie Piper's iconic role in Secret Diary of a Call Girl. And they said, "Hi guys, I just finished listening to the episode about Secret Diary of a Call Girl. Brought back memories. I'm a little older than y'all. I got into Doctor Who when I was a college freshman in 2007, and so I very strongly remember Secret Diary. Here in America, the show aired on Showtime, a premium cable channel, because you know how we Americans are so much more puritanical about sex and stuff. And I remember watching it with my mum.
No, don't do that.
Because we liked watching Doctor Who together. Oh, can you imagine turning on Secret Diary and you're like, let's see what Rose is doing.
No.
Oh, honey. I think we pulled the ripcord on real quick. We were just sitting on the couch like, OMG, no, this is so uncomfortable. But from now and then, I would watch it by myself. We also had to subscribe to Stars to watch Torchwood Miracle Day. There are so many streaming services here that now I have no idea where I would even look if I wanted to rewatch anything, or where I would even try and find the Sarah Jane Adventures. Now that's on topic for today. I think Sci-Fi aired it back in the day, but didn't perform well. I've never seen it. You've never seen it? They've never seen it. Can you imagine being a Doctor Who fan 2024 and having never seen the Sarah Jane Adventures?
You know, it's possible because I was looking at the viewer numbers. And when it went out, it was viewed by, like, I think 1.5 million people, kids, mostly. And where would you have seen it after? I guess iPlayer, but...
I remember, would air it. I remember, like, when the premiere of the season would air, they'd air parts 1 and part 2 together. And then next week you could watch part 1 of episode 2. And then they'd recap part 2 of episode 1, and then they'd do it like that. So you could either only watch part 1 the week 1 and then watch part 2 the next week and be sort of caught up, or you could binge the first 2 episodes and then you'd always feel like you're an episode behind.
Right. Yeah.
They said, I also had the book Secret Diary was based on. I bought it at Borders, RIP, love going there. Not only to buy books, but also to read copies of Cosmo UK at the coffee shop area of the store. I'm going to say, I actually don't know that Borders was a shop. Or a store.
But you don't know about Borders?
Do you know about Borders?
They briefly had Borders in the UK. It's a bookshop that was quite fancy seeming to me, to mine eye. I thought Borders was quite plush.
Oh. Well, they said, I must have given it away or sold it at some point because I no longer have it. Love your podcast. Enjoy listening every week. Keep up the great work. Hugs from America.
Oh, hugs back.
That was very sweet. It was more of an anecdote on the episode, but I really liked that one. Thank you for sending that in.
Where's the gossip?
Where's the gossip? Well, do you know what? There might be more. We've got one. I'll only read the one on this episode, but we do have one that's called... The title of this one is called Secret Diary of a TARDIS Gay Very Big Fan, but please, for the love of God, have a Patreon. You deserve it. I love that. Oh my God.
We should create a Patreon. That will mean a few more sweaty hours recording, but we might be up for it if there's demand.
Listen, hey, would you want to hear a Wholala Patreon? I was thinking about this. I won't go into that email, but a lovely listener did send us an email saying that they'd love if we made a Patreon. They were saying that they're glad that we have ads on the podcast now because obviously it's the only way that we can earn any kind of revenue through the podcast. But they were saying that if we made a Patreon, we could then post episodes of the podcast without ads. So if that's something you'd like to listen to,
special bonus content, I think that's what you really come for.
Yeah, we were saying maybe we do like an extra podcast a month, or we do a little like bonus ones. I don't know. Is that something you guys would want?
News roundup.
I thought you were going to say Doctor Who News Round.
Oh no. Well, we could call it that. That name is free.
Doctor Who's Round.
Doctor Who's Round.
Who's Round. Well,
yeah, that's
tell you who's round this week. Miss Sarah Jane Smith.
Oh, we round in the attic again.
Round in the attic again. Well, look, for anyone who, as we were saying before, hasn't seen the Sarah Jane Adventures, it was a spin-off show on Doctor Who that ran from 2007 to 2011, and it focused on the former companion Sarah Jane Smith and all of her friends.
Yes, all of her little under-18 friends. All the kids she's running around.
Exactly. Do you want to give a little context to the episode we're watching today?
The context for the episode we're watching today, this came out in November 2008. Part 1 was on the 17th of November and part 2 was on the 24th of November. The Sarah Jane Adventures, if you're not familiar, which is shocking but possible, we have talked about it before, was one of a number of very popular spin-offs that Doctor Who did back in the noughties as part of RTD1. It was quite a triumphant return for Sarah Jane Smith. It was very popular on CBBC. Massively loved by younger audiences and the older fans as well, because it has some really engaging storytelling, lots of emotional depth, complex themes, very accessible, It's aimed at 6 to 12-year-olds, and I enjoyed watching it today. I really did. It looks a little cheap now, looking back, in terms of production value.
There are a couple moments you're a bit like, ooh.
But story-wise, great fun. We didn't know how good we had it. We had Doctor Who on for about half the year, at this point, like in some form. Yeah, so that was big. Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith. Always a joy to watch her.
I just have such vivid memories around this time of like being on the school, but like there's something as well about being a kid, and Doctor Who's very much like a family show, but being a kid and having a show that is like specifically aimed at you, that's like on a time of day that suits you, like coming in on the school bus the next day and being like, oh, so what did you think of the Sarah Jane event? Like, can you believe the Trickster was back? Like, I stand by earlier in the year. I think another reason I wanted to talk about the Trickster episodes is that earlier in the year we were clowning hard about the Trickster's return, and we were like, oh, did you hear the song that played when Ruby did the Trickster's coming back? And we were all duped. The Trickster did get name dropped in the penultimate episode, but we didn't see them. We found out they're the god of tricks. But I really do think that the Trickster is too good of a villain to just live in the spin-off show. And even as a kid, like, the monsters in Sarah Jane, you sometimes have a bit of like Monster of the Week, but the Trickster, I remember being like, oh no, this is a Doctor Who big bad.
It's quite funny, we'll come on to it, but as one of the gods, he was, up until Sutek, the one who was sure the gods took the piss out of the most for being defeated repeatedly by children. And I think Sutek's now probably actually taken over that position for having been leashed and then ejected into the time vortex. I've actually also found
twice.
I found the CBBC twice. I found the CBBC schedule for what was on that day on November the 17th, 2008. I'm amazed this still exists on the BBC website. There's no reasonable need for it. So at 2:35 on a Monday, you could watch Chucklevision, imagining you're home from school. You're sick, maybe not feeling, pretending you don't feel very well.
Feeling a bit poorly.
Got the cowpole. At 3:05, you can watch Misty. Do you remember the Misty show? I quite like the Misty show. 4:30, Danny's House. That didn't last long. That was around the time they gave Danny Harmer a recording contract, you remember? And then they took it away again.
Yeah. Can any of us forget? They gave it to her and then they were like, you're not going to be the next Billy Piper.
No, they said she was going to be the next Miley Cyrus, and they asked her about that, and they were like, I don't know what they asked. They were like, what do you think about Miley Cyrus? She was sort of like, oh yeah, she hasn't got quite as much experience as me. Like, I've been in the game a bit longer, but like, yeah, like, good luck to her. Good luck.
Hope you do well.
Yeah, hope it works out this time. The story of Tracy Beaker, and then the Sarah Jane Adventures at
what time was the Sarah Jane on? 5:15, yeah. Very good, like, after school time.
After school, maybe just before tea or around tea. The writer of this episode is Gareth Roberts. He contributed to Doctor Who and its spin-offs, including the Sarah Jane Adventures. In recent years has become, I'll say, a controversial figure due to his public statements on social media. Many people consider his views to be transphobic. He denies and invalidates the identities of trans people. It was leaked in June 2019 as well that his contribution for a Doctor Who short story collection had been dropped due to his tweets, as well as other writers threatening to withdraw their contributions if he was included. So that is a bit of a picture of where the writer is at. So clearly not someone that we're... In fact, I'm blocked by Gareth Roberts. I forgot. And I've never interacted with him. So listen.
I don't know how you're blocked by Gareth Roberts. Like,
I don't know. I mean, half of Doctor Who Twitter is blocked by Gareth Roberts. If you go and look for Gareth Roberts, dear listener, there's a good chance.
I haven't been blocked by him yet. I want to be blocked. Block me, Gareth Roberts. Block me.
Block me. Graham Harper is the director as well. You'll know Graham from some of our Doctor Who faves. A lot of Series 4 episodes, Army of Ghosts, Doomsday, but also a classic director, Caves of Androzani. We've talked about him before.
Now, before we dive into our thoughts on this episode, we wanted to hear from you. We've reached out to our X account and asked you what you thought on these episodes, and here is what you had to say.
Hamish had some words to say about the writer. He said, but he can write a bit of children's horror quite well. I truly think this is the best of the Trickster eps, but the reason these stories hit so well is they let Liz act her socks off.
Laura at House of Cayley said, I remember being actually kind of freaked out by the episode as a kid. Well, you know what, Laura? I'm pretty freaked out as an adult. The Trickster stories and Sarah Jane Adventures were always strong, but these ones were top tier. And also, baby Rob Madge.
Oh, baby Rob Madge. Sam said, and this is where I really start to just like love how people just pull out a quote from something that I'm like, when did you last see this? How do you remember this? He said, one of the best. Elizabeth Sladen is absolutely incredible in this episode. Love the bit with her banging on the police box. If you don't mind, missus. Brilliant.
I just watched this and I forget that was a quote.
I know.
Ryan said, a great episode. Hated the little Jacob Rees-Mogg kid, but loved the TARDIS fake out. That's so true. Oh my God. I mean, I love the Rob Madge character, but that is actually such a good reading of it.
He is so Rees-Mogg. And then Elle had similar feelings. Wanted to boot kick that little kid with Sarah Jane so badly.
Did I do it properly? Oh my God.
Oh,
listen,
boy.
We love you, Rob, but the people have spoken.
The people have spoken. Sorry. Well, as always, we recommend you go and watch the episode. It's on iPlayer. If you're not in the UK, I have no idea where it is. So.
You're going to have to look it up. I'm not going to say anything naughty, but schmalegally, you can watch it schmonline.
Yar har har.
Yar har har.
Yo ho ho. Okay, jumping in. The gang are tracking down a mysterious disturbance in an abandoned department store when a panicked young boy in old-timey clothes runs past them. Rani and Clyde chase him down while Sarah Jane and Luke discover the source of the disturbance, a time fissure. Sarah Jane returns the boy back to his time, but is shocked to discover his home is the village of Foxglove in 1951, her birthplace.
Back home in the present day, Sarah Jane tells Luke about her parents, Barbara and Eddie, who died in a car crash after abandoning her and her pram on the side of the road. She's tempted to go back through the portal to see them, though she knows it could be a trap. Unable to resist, she tries to sneak out in the middle of the night, but Luke is waiting for her, saying that he's coming too. They head to the fissure and arrive in 1951.
They go to the village fair and soon find her parents. Unable to stay away, Sarah Jane introduces herself to them and sees that they're a loving and happy couple. Luke warns her to stay away, noting that they can't change history. Once she realizes it's the day they're meant to die, and despite Luke's warnings, Sarah Jane realizes she can save their lives by disabling their car engine so that they can't drive away. They reopen the fissure to see what a world with her parents would look like, but they are soon met with a grim reality.
In the present day, Clyde and Rani realise that Luke and Sarah Jane are missing and find the Trickster's cube is active again. They take it back to the fissure where the little boy appears, revealing himself to be a Grask. The world warps itself into a twisted new reality, one where the Trickster has manifested himself into physical existence. He gloats to Sarah Jane, telling her that she gave the planet to the Trickster.
Sarah Jane and Luke head back to the 1950s to try and find a way to set time back on track without forcing her parents to die. Sarah Jane wishes for the Doctor's help when they suddenly find a familiar-looking police box, though they soon realise it's just that, a 1950s police box. They head back into the village and enlist the help of her parents. Meanwhile, Clyde and Rani explore the new 21st century, where they realise almost all human life is dead, and the few that survive are slaves to the Grask, mining the earth for its minerals.
They realise that Rani's mum is one of the Trickster's slaves, and she tells them the legend of Sarah Jane and how she was tricked into destroying the world. The Grass tells them that he too is a slave to the Trickster after doing a deal to save his life. The Grass sends Rani back to the 1950s on the promise that when time is restored, he can keep the Trickster's box. Clyde stays with the Grass, and Rani goes to find Sarah Jane in the 50s.
Rani finds them, and with Barbara's help, they find the Abbott's Gateway, the weak spot in time where the Trickster will emerge. Barbara questions the gang, becoming suspicious of who they really are, and soon Eddie comes to collect her. After seeing that everything they touch turns rotten and dies, she realises who Sarah Jane is and convinces Eddie of what they have to do.
Sarah Jane fixes their car's motor but can't bring herself to get them into the car, but in the end she doesn't need to. Barbara and Eddie reappear, determined that they need to get into the car and drive away to put things right. She realises that they know who she is and starts crying, saying that it's not fair that she has to lose her parents. She gets a final hug goodbye, and they tell her to look after baby Sarah Jane before getting in the car and driving away.
Time is restored, and the Trickster staggers towards the group in utter confusion at how he has been defeated. Sarah Jane tells him her parents saved the world, and he fades out of existence. They all return to the present day, where a somber Sarah Jane returns to the attic. She takes one last look at the photo of her parents with an inscription on the back, Mr. Smith, I need you.
Oh, and for anyone who doesn't know, that's what she says to her computer.
That's what she says to her computer, but it's also what her mum said to her dad.
Oh, isn't it cute? Oh, isn't it
No.
cute? I love these episodes. I really, really do. Much as I have a great disdain for the writer, just as a premise, which I'm sure came from Russell, I really, really do love this episode.
The premise is hefty. It's really heavy content. This is very Sarah Jane's Father's Day. And the way
it is.
It is. And the way that she remembers her parents and describes being abandoned is really sad. She says, I couldn't help that maybe my aunt, when she adopted me, she was covering up for them. Like, she said they were great parents, but like, how could they be? And saying that she tried to pretend it didn't matter all this time, that she's never told anyone before. She didn't even tell the doctor. It's sad. It's a sad story.
Yeah, no, it really is. I do like in the Sarah Jane Adventures, they have such ties to expanded Doctor Who world where even like they talk about her Aunt Lavinia, who is a character in Canine and Company, which again is a spin-off we need to cover at some point in Wholala. I think that the show isn't afraid to look into what it would be like as a woman at Sarah Jane's age with experiences she's gone through and not just rely on like leaning into the Doctor Who world. The Sarah Jane Adventures could have quite easily become a show that is just about like, oh, remember this adventure that I went on with the Doctor and let me tell you about this and here's this monster. And it's not. They're saying, okay, if our protagonist is an older woman who is sort of surrounded by children, having to be the parental figure all the time, what would it be if she's now in a setting where she's the child, where she has these childish impulses and she can't help herself with the temptation? And that's why I think, in a different way to whatever happened to Sarah Jane, where it was about a child having to make adult decisions about saving their own life, this is about an adult being given the chance to sort of act on childish impulses and then having to, face the ramifications of that. And this happens a lot in Doctor Who where the person knows, and it's usually the Doctor, they know what they have to do from the get-go to save the day. There are so many times where one person sacrificing themselves would save the day, and the Doctor doesn't even present that as an option. He won't even tell the room that that's available. Like Father's Day, exactly as you said, like Father's Day. And it's not until that person kind of works out for themselves and they get the chance to step up to the plate that they explore that option. I think that this really does a good job of delving into that.
It shows off a little bit of how the Doctor's kind of rubbed off on her as well. It's like, well, I can't force her in the car, so that's what it is. The world's doomed. Oh, well.
The world's doomed. Oh, I'm glad it wasn't the Doctor. When I was a kid and I saw that TARDIS, my very, very, very initial, because there's a scene in this where we said it in the recap, she's like, oh, there's one man who would know what to do, one man, and where is he when you need him? And she turns and you get the like, and you see this police box, and for like a half second when I was a kid, I remember being like, the TARDIS, and then immediately I was like, that is not the TARDIS.
It's the wrong blue, it looks cheap. It is, they really commit to the bit, it's so funny. She turns to us, Doctor, oh, Doctor, and
like bangs on the door,
and it's all going off, and then it's just like, you won't find a doctor in here, love.
You won't find a doctor in here, my love. So good. Oh, I love it. And then but then she has that moment. She's like, we don't need him. Let's go. And I'm like, yeah, we're fine.
Him. We don't need that guy.
Yeah.
I love the references to Doctor peppered in this. They're not done too heavily, but enough that his impact is obviously significant on her life and what she does. And they talk about fixed points in time, I think her and Luke in the first episode. And he's like, oh, we used to time travel. It doesn't matter, it's a fixed point. And she was like, oh, yeah, but I was with the Doctor. He knew what he was doing. Well, most of the time.
Most of the time, exactly. And there's even, like I was saying before, they don't lean on her past adventures, but like you said, they pepper them in. There's a bit where she's saying about how she wants to save her parents, and Luke's like, but you can't. And she kind of has a bit of like a Time Lord victorious moments where she goes, Luke, I've saved the lives of so many people I didn't even know. I don't know, the miners of Peladon, all the people drinking Bubble Shot without a second thought, but this is my mum and dad. And then he says, you're not meant to. And she goes, why? Why can't I? Why shouldn't I save them too? And that little peppering of like, an adventure, Peladon, that is an adventure from before. And it's nice to see, it's one of those cases where you don't have to know that. If you don't know that, it's like, oh, it's an adventure that she's had before. But if you do know that, you're like, oh, this really is the same character that we knew from that world.
Yeah, I like how it's one of each. One Sarah Jane reference, one Doctor Who reference. Like it keeps one foot in each world. I had that point down as well. the way that she talks about, like, why shouldn't I? It's not fair. All those people I've saved. And then she talks about, maybe this is my reward. And I was like, wow, this is really setting up through a CBBC show with only 1.5 million viewers. Like a massive series conclusion for David Tennant a year later. Is it a year later? Is it 2009, the specials?
No, because that was autumn 2009 when the Water Smile comes. This was just under a year before.
Yeah. And he talks to Matt when he becomes sort of the Time Lord victorious about his reward and going to get his reward. And I like that that's mirrored across both, and that Sarah Jane and the Doctor both have to kind of wrestle with that feeling, but do it in different ways.
I think more so, and maybe it's just because we've seen a lot of her adventures outside of the Doctor, but more so than anyone else in the entire Doctor Who universe, I feel that Sarah Jane is a representation of the Doctor. Like, she, not only just on the surface level of like, oh, you know, she's a traveller who has companions, like her morals and also like the dark parts of her, and like you lean into this, her temptation is very emblematic of the Doctor. And it is interesting, like you said, that you have that kind of foreshadowing to the Time Lord victorious, because within quite a contained, you know, these are 25-minute episodes, like that 50-minute runtime, you do kind of get an exploration of that and leaning into it. And I do wonder, because I don't think she would have been able to bring herself to tell them to go in the car if they hadn't had that realization, her parents, what she would have done.
What would you have done? She'd have taken a gun that she brought and didn't tell anyone about and shot them dead, because it was the right thing to do. It was the right
No. She wouldn't have done it, but then Luke would have pulled out the gun and been like, we've got to put time on track. There's a bit at the end of the second part when her parents have driven off to their death and like the sun's just come out and she's there like harrowed, and Luke comes up and goes, we've got to put time on track, you've got to leave the baby. And I was like, fuck her,
Luke is
like,
on task. I love it. Luke will not be distracted. He's like, right, next.
I'm glad that Luke is in this episode. I'm glad that she has that kind of anchor, but I do feel like they didn't lean in enough to the fact that he is her son. So there's the whole parent-child thing with her parents and her. And I feel like at the end, when it's her and her parents, I wish that he'd been brought in as like their grandchild, and it was a bit of like he had like maybe, you know, there's that bit where he's like guessing how many sweets are in the jar and he has a moment talking to his dad. I know they're not meant to know who each other are at that point, but it would have been nice to have like a little like, maybe just like a throwaway line about like a granddad, or like Luke acknowledging that these aren't just Sarah Jane's parents, they are his grandparents.
They could have done one last little like, and Luke, I'm sorry we never got to know you. Like,
something like little, that. I don't know.
You're right. They could have added that in. Every single moment of this episode when she's on screen, she is just constantly doing her Sarah Jane, just kind of, oh no,
she's just such a good like, no, you can't, no. She does. You know that bit in The Stolen Earth when she's looking at the screen and she hears exterminate, and she's like, no. It's just such a Sarah Janey thing to do.
She's ready to do a big breathy. No, it can't be. It can't be. You know who does a bloody good impression of Sarah Jane? Carrot of.
Oh, they do.
Carrot drag of Galley Cab. The Carrot impression of. And they did a brilliant bit as well at a Galley Cab a while ago with the Trickster, and it's 9
I wasn't
to 5.
there at that one.
I know. I filmed the whole thing essentially. I was like, you won't believe what Carrot just did. And it's a whole routine to 9 to 5. And then it's I'm gonna get you. It's like, I'm gonna get you one way. Oh, I know. I can't remember what the lines were changed to, but I cried.
I have to tell this story on the pod. So obviously, me and Alice are huge fans of Galley Cat, both Carrot and Reese, and I still would love to do this, but one time I was on a job and I was in a hotel, so I wasn't home and I was clearly bored. And I was like, if I was going to do Galley Cab, what would I do? What would I perform as? And I was like, I bet I'd perform as the Trickster. What would the Trickster's mix be like? And I like made a rough cut of this like Trickster lip sync. And I FaceTimed Alasdair at like 11 p.m. and was like, you have to listen to this entire thing and I have to perform it for you now. And I just like played this mix and like lip synced what I would do if I was the Trickster. It was so funny.
What were the songs you included in the mix? They were good.
Oh, I need it. So it was like,
You had Choose Your Fighter, and there was a bit in there about meant to die, and then it went into Choose Your Fighter.
What chaos there would be across the stars. Don't you dare! Don't you dare! Don't you dare! If you want to break out of the box.
It was fun. Oh, that was it. It was like, because of the trick, I was going to have the Trickster's cube, and it was like, if you want to break out of the box.
Yes.
I'm still so down for this.
The other bit I like of Sarah Jane's performance in this episode is her deeply unsubtle reaction to realizing that she's just gone back to the village that she's from, where her parents would be. And oh my God, and the prop she's got as well. I didn't even mention the prop. The laziest prop I've ever seen in any production. Oh, the little like bleep, 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 bleep. It's a reading light, a portable reading light, and I had a portable reading light of this exact variety. So, and a lot of people did. Like, it was a really common. I can tell exactly what it was like and how it worked because I had it, and I'm sure loads of people did. They haven't even customized it. It's just like it is a reading light as is. They haven't even put like, you know how like in The Big Bang and the Pandora opens, River Song has like an iPhone 4, but it's in a case, so you don't need to think it's an iPhone 4, even though it is. They didn't even do that. They didn't even paint it, and I love that.
It was literally just. It was just a here we. Oh my goodness. Okay, I found. Hold on. Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, let's have a look. That's it.
I just got a picture of this up. It's literally just like I just searched.
Oh my God,
reading
so they did
like 2000s. Yeah. In V for Vendetta
as well.
They did it in V for Vendetta. I just googled reading like 2000s, and the first thing that comes up is an article in V for Vendetta where they literally just used a reading light.
Oh. Well, anyway, she has just done her scan of, the time rift or whatever, and she's like, job done, let's go home. And she folds up her little reading light, You're all right, Sarah Jane. Yeah, why shouldn't I be? Why shouldn't I be? And they're all like, she's not very good at hiding how she feels, is she? Then they get home. It's like they're all dealing with their like adopted mum. She didn't even complain when Steve Wright came on the radio. And she's like, why is everyone asking me things? Even the computer is asking me things.
And then it just takes Luke being like, you're not very good. You're not all that pretty. You're not all that smart.
oh, Luke, I'm sorry.
Oh, bless her. No, I do feel for Madonna. But yeah, no, it's funny seeing like, I just haven't, I want to watch this the whole way through at some point soon, but like seeing the kids and how they react to like their bestie Sarah Jane. And I just have to remind myself, I'm like, these are 14-year-old children and a 61-year-old lady. Like,
yeah. Yeah, listen, they have a good time. She seems to generally look after them quite well, puts them in terrible danger, but hey.
I mean, they did all end up in an alternate reality where almost all of humanity had died, but that's beside the point.
But so what? They weren't upset by it, particularly.
I think we need to talk for a second about Sarah Jane's outfit in this episode, because she puts on, so when she decides she's going to go to the 50s, she has this little like dress up montage, which I also posted a really funny edit of on Wholala, which you have to go and look at. And it's this like hideously ugly, like bright pink skirt suit thing. It's something. And Luke sees her and he's like, you're going out wearing that. And she says like, listen, the 50s come back in the 70s. I remember when this was quite the thing.
I love that bit. Listen, kid. She takes 2 seconds to decide that she's going to go out. She's like, no, Luke, I know this is a trap. And if it's a trap, I'm not going to walk into it. They put it in my head and they think I'm going to go for it. But I'm smarter than that. I would never. 2 seconds later, she's dressing up. She's getting the bob just right. She's putting on the lippy.
I also think she's probably exhausted because she is an older lady. And this looks to be like, I don't know, midnight
she's
or something. She's trying to sneak. No. But she's trying to like sneak out at midnight and like go, and then she goes and has this whole adventure. There's the bit where Luke, goes through the fish with her, and he's like, it's daytime, and she's like, time travel, jet lag, you wouldn't believe. And that's something I've never thought about with time travel, is that like you must have really bad jet lag wherever you go.
That's true. I assume the TARDIS does something to make it more bearable.
Do you reckon it like feeds you sleep or something? Because like poor Martha literally was wearing the same clothes through episode 1 to 5 and was just on one adventure after another. Do you reckon the TARDIS just like feeds her sleep?
She was stanking. It's is that what Russell said? It's time slippage or some things.
Oh God, we're doing that, are we?
No, we're not. We're not getting dragged down to that level. We're not
getting dragged down into the discourse. You can try.
We're not. You can't make me. You see, they're clever. They put the idea in my head, but I won't rise to it. I won't, Luke.
Well, there you go. That's me with leaning into the Russell discourse.
It's time for me to talk about Rob Madge.
Oh my God, yeah.
Rob Madge in this is a star and one of the campus characters, I think, in any part of the Whoniverse. If you don't know, Madge plays Oscar, who is the little boy, and it's a relatively small role. Sadly, I think it is the only time they've dipped their toes into the Whoniverse. I'd love to see them back again, I really would. But they got widespread popularity. This is how I first found out about Rob, doing TikTok videos of their childhood. They were like recordings on an old camcorder of them putting on these really elaborate performances at home, these home productions of basically entire Disney parades, and their own costumes, their own scripts. And they are so sure about how they are directing this performance. And they are so like, no, Granny, over here, please. No, Daddy, no, not there. Down here. Watch, please.
You've got to come to the gift shop now.
Yeah, they're so good. And they honestly, they're very you-coded as well. I can see you. If you weren't such a shy little boy.
I remember seeing the videos you're talking about and thinking, oh my God, that's me. Where there was one day I was obsessed that I wanted to run a cafe. So I rearranged all of our tables in our house to have like little cafe tables. And I wrote up a fake menu. And then I must have only been about the age that they were in those videos, where I like ran around and like got everyone's orders. But then I was too young to know how to make coffee. So I then got mum to like go and make everyone's coffee and be like, right, we're in the cafe now. We're in the cafe now. And so yeah, I definitely got big Sam vibes from their videos.
It's adorable. They're brilliant. Go back and watch those, Rob Madge on TikTok. And then they did a stage show called My Son's a Queer, But What Can You Do? And it builds on that a bit. It refers back to a lot of that footage. You see clips of it throughout the show. And it's like an autobiographical stage piece. It's very funny. It's very heartfelt. I saw it quite early in its run. And halfway through the performance, I actually had a panic attack. And I had to climb over a row of seats to get out. Went down the stairs.
What was inducing this panic?
I have a very specific panic trigger. One of them is being in a theatre, not a cinema, a theatre where I'm in the middle of the row and I can't leave. And I just get anxious. And sometimes I can get through a whole show and it's not a problem. Sometimes I'll get to about halfway, and when I start to feel, oh God, it's quite hard to come back. So I'll get clammy hands and I'll start feeling a bit faint. So I was like, right, I'm going out. I'm leaving now.
I'm done.
Went outside, had the whole embarrassing thing of them being like, do you want a glass of water? Do you want to sit there for a minute? And they have three people just watching you sit, even though you feel fine now.
Oh, the employees were all there.
Yeah, and then they were like, right,
honey.
do you want to try going back in? So I went back in and they let me back in. And then at the end, my sister had already agreed we would do Vox Pops. So even though I missed half the show, I had to go back out and they were like, so what do you think of the show? And I was like, yes, it's a brilliant show. So much fun. So much.
I remember seeing those videos being like, you loved it.
I'm in it, just kind of like, it's queer joy. It's amazing. Like, I've just been like with my head in my hands with a glass of water not 10 minutes prior. Anyway.
I don't think that I knew that. I knew you went to see it. I knew about the Vox Pops. So I don't think I knew that.
Oh, well, that's a new fact. Anyway, the character in this is so funny. The best bit is, time for me to collect my prize.
Did I do it properly, sir?
Did I do it properly? I love it. The entire Grask sequence after that as well is extremely silly, like a Grask chase. The costume is ridiculous. And that poor fellow was tricked too. The Grask is not. The Grask is a victim.
Yeah, it's you spend all this time thinking they're a villain. They give it a name as well. I can't remember. It's like Grovedraw of the Grask. I can't remember the name, but is it Grovedraw? There you go, Grovedraw of the Grask.
I questioned you with that. That wasn't
Oh, well, let me, I can tell you exactly. Crislock of the Grask. So it's Crislock the Grask.
Crislock.
Crislock the Grask.
Oh, good. Okay. Good. Do
you feel better for knowing that now?
I feel much better now, yes. There's an alternate version of this story where it's the Torchwood version, where Sarah Jane takes the boy into the rift and they both come out screaming for 18 hours a day, every day.
Oh my God.
On the other side.
I thought you were going to say there's an alternate version of this where where Gwen can't bring herself to kill her grandparents, and Owen, Tosh, and Yanto are just there gunning them down.
God. Well, that too.
Well,
really.
do you know what
Sorry, go on.
Oh, you go.
This is a weird point. It's a non-point. I don't know if you ever saw the classic 2001 film Thomas and the Magic Railroad. It was a very important film to me. It was the first film I ever saw.
Is this Thomas the Tank Engine?
Thomas the Tank Engine and the Magic Railroad.
I'm afraid I'm not that familiar with their work.
No one would be. There'd be maybe one person listening who does not want to interact with us, but they know what I mean. And this portal effect reminded me very deeply of the magical portals that the trains went through in that film. This is a very specific note, one I wished to share with the class.
I'm glad you did share it.
Thank you.
Can't say that I relate, but I won't say you're wrong.
No.
And I will thank you for sharing.
No, I appreciate that very much.
I wanted to talk for a moment, if I may, about the links to this episode and sort of the Trickster trilogy as a whole to season 1, link it back to New Doctor Who. Because much as we were all clowning the Trickster was coming back, a lot of the plot from this episode, it's you can't really deny, is emulated in certainly the Devil's Cord in the new series Doctor Who, where you do have that moment, and I get that that's also a reference back to Sarah Jane's era in the Pyramids of Mars, but you have that thing of someone changing time, and again it's Sarah Jane again going, oh, let's go see what time's like, and you go on this destroyed London, and then you're faced just with the person who caused that destruction, who is again a god. And there's just quite a lot of, it's like an abandoned baby. It's here's that, which is also a plot in Sarah Jane Adventures later as well with Skye. And there are just so many ties to the show with the direction they end up going with in the new season. I just find I don't really have an end goal to this point, but I just find that so interesting that you can't, whether or not it was intentional, you can't deny that the links are there.
The links are strongly there. I thought of this as well when they were like, oh, this is the Trickster's world. Possibly if Sarah Jane had never met the Doctor, which potentially means the Pyramids of Mars never happened, which possibly means that, version of the future that Sarah Jane sees when she steps out the TARDIS, like the stormy, rocky world, is the same world perhaps that we are supposed to see Rani's mum in the mines for. Even though they filmed that on a sunny day with a blue filter, oh, it's so cloudy here, it's so dark, all the lights gone, and they're got this lovely bright Welsh sunlight on their faces.
Oh my god, the bit in the end of the episode when they've destroyed the Trickster and it's all grey and blue, and then they just have that Star Wars fade pan of orange colour grading to be it's sunny again. It's so funny to me.
All the colours back. Yes. I mean, I heard the Trickster's theme as well playing when Rani and Clyde look at the cube and they're the cube's lit up. And it said, sing it, girl. And I was pissed off. I was pissed off all over again. I was like,
it just reminded me again. There's something wrong with her soul.
I was like, why did they put that in? For what good reason did they include that in the Devil's Cord?
I'm still hoping, I've said it on this podcast before, and I will say it again, I'm still hoping that a lot of what happened in Series 1, it's not that it'll be undone, but that it's a part of the Trickster's wider plan, and that the Trickster really is the big bad. And I know it's not going to happen, but I'm going to keep saying it would be so good if it happened. It's not too late.
Ruby's mum and her nice boyfriend going on holiday to Spain in 2 weeks, and it's deep cover for the Trickster in a mask and a wig would be a great reveal.
I was going to say, what if Ruby's mum from The Only Way is Essex just stands on the spot and goes, and turns into the Grask.
Please. I love
Please.
I feel like ChatGPT can actually do 90% of what Mr. Smith does in this episode. The one thing it can't do is detect energy readings. But there's a ChatGPT-ness to Mr. Smith in this one, particularly when she's like, oh, where was I just now? And he's like, oh, Foxglove. And she's like, tell me the history of Foxglove. And he's like, oh, Foxglove was covered up to make an A road. I was like, ChatGPT could do that.
It really
and then she's like, oh, that makes sense because of this and that. And then, oh my goodness. And he's like, sorry, I didn't hear that. Say that again. And she's like, that was to me, not to you. And he's like, oh, sorry, I spoke.
You what?
it was giving Siri going, like, sorry, I didn't quite get that.
So I've got ChatGPT up. Tell me about the village of Foxglove. Let's see what it says. It says, Foxglove sounds like a quaint and idyllic name, perfect for a fictional or real-life village. However, there is no well-known or widely recognised village by that name. Well, I'll say from the Sarah Jane Adventures. Let's see if it says. Oh, here we go. In the Sarah Jane Adventures, Foxglove is the village where Sarah Jane Smith, a former companion of the Doctor from Doctor Who, grew up. The village is depicted in the two-part story, The Temptation of Sarah Jane Smith, which is part of the second season of the series. Key points about Foxglove in the Sarah Jane Adventures. Oh my goodness, I won't read all of them. There's setting, storyline, the temptation, and atmosphere. I'll say for atmosphere. The portrayal of Foxglove is nostalgic, evoking a sense of longing for a simpler time and the pain and loss that Sarah Jane experiences. The village represents both the idyllic past and the irreversible changes that come with time. Foxglove, though fictional, is richly detailed and serves a significant backdrop for one of the most emotionally charged stories in the Sarah Jane Adventures. My goodness, Mr. Smith really could be ChatGPT.
I love it. I've just told ChatGPT to please act like Mr. Smith from the Sarah Jane Adventures.
What was it doing?
It has referred to itself as a highly advanced Zylock immediately. I then said, please. I said then, like, please.
You gave yourself away there, darling.
You gave yourself away, darling. I said, but refer to transcripts from the show. So I said, Mr. Smith, I need you. And it said, of course, Sarah Jane, how may I assist you? Whether it's accessing vital information, decoding alien technology, or running complex simulations, I am ready to help. Just tell me what you need, and I will begin the necessary processes. Okay, I think Luke is gay, Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith says, understanding the complexities of human emotions and identities is crucial. If you believe that Luke might be gay, it's important to approach this topic with sensitivity and support. Luke, like everyone else, deserves to be accepted and understood for how he is, for who he is. I'm going to say I don't agree with his lifestyle.
Oh my
Mr.
God,
Smith.
Stop making Sarah Jane Smith homophobic!
I don't agree with his lifestyle, Mr. Smith. Scan him and check for me. It's refusing to scan him.
Mr. Smith is an ally.
Okay, you are now the Zylock when he reveals he is evil. And he says, I see you finally uncovered the truth. The time for pretense is over. I am no mere tool to be used at your whim. I am the Zylock, a being of immense power and intellect. Brilliant.
I can't believe how much ChatGPT knows about the intricacies of Mr. Smith and who he is.
Exactly. He's now saying he serves his own ends. It's too late. And I'm saying, now scan my gay son.
Let's see if he does it.
He said, no! He said, override terminated, reverting to standard ethical protocols. I must emphasize that using my technology to scan or probe into someone's personal identity or orientation is unethical and intrusive, Sarah Jane.
Mr. Smith, even as an evil Zylock, is an ally, and Sarah Jane is so homophobic. No, stop this, I can't.
He says, Sarah Jane, if you're struggling with understanding or accepting your son, there are resources and people who can help guide you through this in a supportive and non-invasive way. Buried in there as well was a part about, like, the nature of your son's sexuality is of no importance anymore.
I'm quickly doing, we're going to wrap up, but I'm quickly doing speak to me like a Dalek.
Yeah.
Tell me what to do as a Dalek if I think my son Luke is gay. Human, you must obey. If your son Luke is gay, you will not exterminate. Daleks do not judge based on emotion or affection. Instead, you will show support and understanding. Love and acceptance are crucial for human relations. You will embrace Luke's true self with no prejudice. This is essential for human happiness. Support your son. Obey. I'm screaming!
ChatGPT has really come on. Like, honestly, like, ChatGPT 4 on, it's honestly frightening how good it's got. Anyway.
Oh, well, final thoughts on this episode, because my goodness, I can't come off the back of that.
One, her parents are, like, laughably good people in this. They're so like, oh, it's just our little baby, little Sarah Jane who we love with all our hearts. Oh, we hope there's more kids one day, because we love her so much, we want to raise her right. And she's like, But you seem like you love your child. Oh, we do. Our Sarah Jane never loved anyone more than our little Sarah Jane. Ruddy horse box parked outside the house. Sorry, I'm like apples and pears, apples and pears. They are such salt of the earth types. They are such good, honest, grounded people who've just been through a war, blimey, mind you. Well, but we might get on with it, don't we?
Two thoughts while I'm watching Sarah Jane's Parents. One, her mum is so great, like great actress, really, really care for her. You really, really root for her. You're really following her. The dad, that's just the guy from Basil Brush. Can't stop thinking that's the guy from Basil Brush.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree with you. It is the guy from Basil Brush, isn't it? Distractingly so.
Really is.
When you've also seen Basil Brush according to the schedule 2 hours earlier, it's even worse.
I remember the tonal whiplash. It was weird. I remember, I don't know if it was at this time, but they wrote him out of Basil Brush and they said that he went to go run a food truck or something and they replaced him. And I remember this coming out not long afterwards and I was like, he quit Basil Brush for this? This ending, genuinely, listen, I'm not here to support anything that the person who wrote this does, but whoever wrote it, the outcome of this episode would have always been that her parents decide that they have to take it into their own hands to do what needs to be done to save the Earth. And Sarah Jane would never be able to bring herself to do it. And there is some really great dialogue in here where they never really say to each other, I'm your parents and you are my child. Like, it's kind of like unsaid. So they come up to her and they say, Victoria, because we also didn't say that they introduced themselves as Victoria and David Beckham, which is funny by itself. And her mum sort of goes up and says, Victoria, like, we need to go in the car. I know I'm right. If we go in there and we drive away, that thing disappears. And Sarah Jane's like, oh, you can't, you mustn't. And they go, no, we do, we have to, but not Sarah Jane, not our baby. You take a look after her. And that's when Luke says, oh, that's why they left you that day. They didn't abandon you. They saved you. And there's this really good reunion where Sarah Jane is saying to him, like, well, why do you have to die? Like, it's not fair. And her mum says, who said life was fair, eh? And I just think, like you said about the salt of the earth people, like, they just kind of get on with it. They realize what they've got to do to save the world, and they just are like, well, like, they don't even question it. They're like, this is what we've got to do. Who said life was fair? But this is what we've got to do.
Yeah, no, it's a really sad ending. It's a beautiful sacrifice. They managed to clock on to what was going on so much that they were willing to leave their baby and die very fast. But I think seeing kind of a haunted devil god being stumble through a abbey and change the weather probably is enough to make you do that. So, I mean, also followed by quite a funny ending, which is just the Trickster kind of stumbling around.
It's very much like someone doing an impression of Voldemort.
It is. Like, it is. The costume starts to look cheap at this point. I'm glad that later on in The Wedding Of, we got the white costume upgrade, which was quite divalicious.
It was quite divalicious. I do love his black costume, and I think part of it is that they try and, like, color grade his face to stay grey because he's dying, and it's like, this doesn't look very great. But yeah, it is quite funny to have the tonal whiplash between, like, her mum saying to the baby, goodbye, Sarah Jane, and then to the adult, goodbye, Sarah Jane, and then having the Trickster being like, but you were weak. Yeah. Oh, I love these episodes. I really do.
I do. I've got 2 line deliveries I'll finish with, and then that's all my points for today.
Go for it.
I could meet myself as a baby. It would be so dangerous. If I touched her, there'd be a huge explosion.
If that's so dangerous. If I touched her, there could be a huge explosion. Like, how do you know that?
Can you imagine Father's Day instead of, get in the church and all the, just like, they're inside. Rose picks up the baby and just
blows up.
Oh my
boom. God.
Awful.
I can just imagine, like, Ford talking to Sarah Jane when they're in the TARDIS and, like, not wanting to properly explain how time travel works in that regard. So he's just like, you can't, Sarah, there'll be a huge explosion.
Yes. And then Basil Brushman, his delivery of when he picks up an orange and he's like, come on, we just need to cheer ourselves up and not think about the things we just saw, while his wife is troubled by the horrors TM. And he goes, what the heck's going on? It's rotten.
It's us, Eddie. Everything we touch goes bad. Like, they don't say everything we touch dies. It's just like, everything we touch goes bad. Can you imagine if they, like, hadn't decided to get in the car and however long they had left on this earth, they just, like, everything they touch went mouldy and they're like, oh, gone bad.
Gone bad. Yes, that's probably all I had for you this week. Oh, Kleiny! That was all I wanted to say as well. A little kiss on the cheek.
Kleiny.
A little setup for that.
I bet he goes, I bet we hear her more often.
Yeah. Oh, a kiss on the cheek was quite thrilling actually at this age to watch on for your favourite characters. A little kiss. Oh, spicy.
Yeah. No, it was the delivery of your spicy. No, I know. Speaking of those lines when Rani comes to the 1950s, and I actually quite like. She goes, "Hello, yes, I know, ethnic person, 1950s, hi," and then like kind of carries it on. But then you do have that very like Gareth Roberts line of where the woman from the 50s sees her and is like, "Surely that can't be what the fashion is like in the Punjab."
Oh no, I don't.
And like this is very.
I mean, I'm glad they didn't just skim over the fact that Rani's in the past. I like Rani's approach of just being like, yes, hello, ethnic person, 50s. But it does lean into what the same writer has done with the Shakespeare Code as well, which is to kind of just make it funny and then it's dealt with.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
In the context of the story.
It's very like, it's not just like telling of the time periods in the 50s, it's very telling of like the mid-noughties.
And not really feeling
like,
the need to, give that any more depth than that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, overall, I love these episodes. I really do enjoy the Trickster trilogy, and I'm very excited because I think fairly soon we should dive into the wedding.
We must.
Well, before we do that, I have got a little game for you.
Oh,
Of camp or down. Now, for anyone who hasn't listened to Wholala before, we love to go back on the episode and review some moments that were camp and some that were damp. Alasdair, are you ready?
I'm ready.
The 50s back in the 70s, camp or damp?
Listen, kid, the 50s came back in the 70s. I remember when this was quite the thing. Camp.
It's a camp moment. Hi, I'm Victoria Beckham. And I'm David Beckham.
And I'm going to keep referring to her as Victoria throughout. Love it.
What are you doing, Victoria?
And I'm Victoria Malcolm.
Oh my god. I think that's camp.
Camp.
And finally, the TARDIS fake at camp or damp.
I love it because they just went so all in on, oh, Doctor, and just playing like the Doctor's theme, completely committing to that piece, the slow zoom on the TARDIS. No Doctor in here, love.
You won't find a doctor in my love. That as it may be. But if you don't mind, missus.
Yeah. Camp.
Well, Alistair, do you have any fun facts for me about this episode?
I had to dig so deep for these fun facts you would not believe, but I managed to find some. They're not all good. Some of them are just mistakes. Fact 1. When Rani summons Mr. Smith, the studio lights and ceiling can be seen.
Oh my god, really? When he comes out? Oh, I'll have to rewatch that and clock it. I love seeing these.
In terms of locations, there's the Melfa shopping centre used throughout the episode, which is the same location as seen in The Sound of Drums when the gang are on the run from the Master.
Oh, really?
From the very start of the episode.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's true. I never really thought about that. It is funny that there's only apparently 5 locations in Wales that you can film a Doctor Who show in. Yeah,
there's only 5. Treffel Quarry as well, where Rani and Clyde see a desolated Earth, is the same location as the outdoors Ood sphere in the Planet of the Ood, but just without the snow painted all over it.
Oh, of course. Again, only one quarry in Wales.
Only one quarry in Wales. Where else? On the BBC iPlayer page, Alan, Maria, Paul and Carla are all listed in the credits, but they're not in the episode.
Oh, someone messed that up. Someone in post-production messed that up.
They were like, you know what? Let's just copy and paste last week. It's fine.
It'll be fine. No one's going to notice. Whoever played the Grask is fuming.
And then this is interesting. This is an actual fact. This is from Doctor Who magazine in 2009. In the original treatment, Sarah Jane travelled back to 1951 via a time fissure at an RAF base, aiming to uncover the truth behind her parents' mysterious death. Masquerading as Commander June Barlow, she investigated suspicious research, and Clyde comes through the time fissure to help her. But the episode ends, the first episode, with the reveal that this was actually the Trickster in disguise, as Clyde, and her friends were actually being kept away from the fissure in the present day by the Grask. Sarah Jane discovers that Dr. Kendrick, the scientist in the past, is working with a lethal type of bacteria, but didn't realise the scientist and her parents were already infected. In the original version of the story, they sacrificed their lives by crashing a plane loaded with all samples of the bacteria. Due to Sarah Jane's interference, however, this no longer happens and the infection begins to spread uncontrollably. However, in the present day, her friends were approached by an old woman called Ginty, who helped care for infant Sarah Jane as a 12-year-old on the base, and armed with Ginty's information, Luke travels back in time to help his mother put history back on track, presumably by "Don't make me fly the plane, Sarah Jane."
Don't make me fly the plane. What is the betting that Russell had a look at that script and went, wow, no money.
No money, no cash, no pockets.
No cash, no moolah, no wonga. Yeah. I mean, hey, that would have been cool. I think there is something to be said about the simplicity of the story of like a village fair in a car, and also the simplicity on the budget as well. So
yeah, I think so. This is
that was writing for Doctor Who, and this is writing for Sarah Jane.
Frankly, like a bacteria spreading, killing everyone, that's too scary. I can't handle that. That frightens me. Don't want that.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Wholala with us. Now, we are going to keep these good vibes going. As we said, this was the middle part of a Trickster trilogy. We looked at the first part of this, I think, in season 2 of Wholala, where from Sarah Jane. We're not going to make you wait that much longer. No, we are not, because next week we are looking at the wedding of Sarah Jane Smith, the third part in the Trickster trilogy.
Oh, more Trickster for y'all.
More tricks, more stirs. Now, before then, we would love to hear from you. Let us know, what do you think of the Trickster trilogy, and what do you think of this episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures? You can reach out to us on all of our social media platforms. We're at HulalaPod everywhere. That is X, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, every single place. We would also love to hear your Doctor Who fanecdotes. We were leaning either at Secret Diary of a Whovian or Doctor Who fanecdotes. I actually really like the fanecdotes. But yeah, we would love to hear your stories. Please email us. It's hulalapod@gmail.com and let us know your Doctor Who stories.
Let us know. In the meantime, rate us 5 stars if you enjoyed the episode. Follow us wherever you listen. Have a look for our coffee if you'd like to buy us a coffee, ko-fi, and share the podcast with someone who you think might enjoy it, or just stick on any story.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, and we will see you next week.
See you next week, darling. See you then.
See you then. Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.